I liked it a lot. I liked this film.
I'm going to try to talk about it without breaking into jail because my wife watches every one of these fucking episodes. This movie understands a great deal about the way couples talk to each other when they've been together a really long time. That I found startling and sort of refreshing at the same time. There's a definite chemistry with these two. It's sort of a meanders along and sort of ends somewhat ambiguously, but the chemistry and the dialogue and the scenery, I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, like, you know, I've been with my, what would you say, Tad? This is my 30th call of tour of duty starting yesterday. I know, John, you've been with Sheila forever. Scott, you've been with your wife forever.
89.
There's something about the way that these two, there's like this roller coaster during the course of the day. Is she really pissed at me? No, she seems to be okay with me now. Now she's pissed at me again, and now she's being snarky again. And these can all happen with a span of like 5-10 minutes during the day. And like this movie just nails that.
Yep.
It's really something to watch.
Yep.
Yeah,
It felt like an hour and a half long Curb Your Enthusiasm episode to me.
Yeah, I love Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Like you could see all of this happening to him in a Curb episode.
Yeah,
like he takes some woman to Paris to impress her, and everything just starts to go sideways. And Jeff Goldblum's there for some reason. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
which, by the way, God bless Jeff Goldblum, because I'm never unhappy to see him in something. Like I wish.
And here he is doing
more
literally just himself, like more than any other film.
I'm waiting for everyone
And
to
it's
go.
gold.
I'm waiting for everyone to go first because I'm not unloading this thing.
Oh no!
Oh, absolutely, man.
God. Okay. Well, let me go then.
Yeah, you go, John, so we can all dogpile on Scott for being wrong.
Get your background ready, Chris. I agree that it meandered, but I actually called it seesaw in my head. It was like they went from despising each other to loving each other. Like it turned on a dime.
It's a very British relationship.
But it's a long-term relationship, and that's kind of the way it is, because you're sick of each other. You know everything the other person's going to say, and you understand. You know what buttons to push. Yeah, it's so masterfully written and acted in that way that I thought it was great. And I also admired it in that it never fell off that seesaw into despair. It never became this sort of, here's an indie movie where they're going to be miserable, because miserableism is one of the flaws of a lot of indie movies, where it's just like,
first of all, coin the term miserableism. I think that's a great.
I didn't coin it.
That's pretty good.
But I mean, that is like a genre that indie films kind of
needs to be, because that's where we're in right now.
Yeah, right. But it never falls off into that. It's just like when sometimes she's so mean to him, and sometimes he's pretty awful. But then they
sometimes
recover.
He almost deserves how mean she is to him.
He does. I'm sure he drives her nuts, you know. But it also never went completely sentimental. The ending, spoiler alert, they don't get divorced, and there's moments in this movie where you think this is it. This is the disaster that ends the marriage.
Thinks this is it a couple of times.
This weekend is going to destroy them, and it was supposed to like save them. It was going to be a trip down memory lane for them.
I think it's between the frames, really. I think
the tone is set as soon as they get to that first apartment, which I think was sentimentally chosen for sentimental reasons.
Yeah, that's where they first when they were in Paris the first time. That's where they stayed.
When you're young, you don't care that you have a shitty room that probably smells bad and isn't that clean. And then when you're their age, you know, or closer to our age, then it's just like, well, this is no good. I'm pissed.
I could tell you from personal experience that scene was 100% on the nose.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
But that's what I loved. And in the ending, like I said, they kind of pull it together, and the ending isn't super sentimental like Happily Ever After. It's just things are marginally improved, and you can see that this life they have together is the life they're going to keep living, because it's what they really want.
She's stuck with him, he's stuck with her by choice.
Yeah.
And the nod to a Band of Outsiders,
and they're pretty happy.
Cool.
Yeah, cool ending.
Okay,
I liked it.
I thought this film was about a couple of retirement age sociopaths. that who despise each other, were drifting apart for years and years. She attacks him incessantly and relentlessly, calls him an idiot, calls him stupid, calls him
moron,
nonstop. And the thing is, at the point where they were in a restaurant, they're kind of having a good time at that oyster place, and it says, let's pull a runner, and they do it. I'm sitting here going, don't burn the locals. Don't burn the locals. And
I didn't love that.
They burned the fuck out of the locals like 3 times, man.
This marriage was saved by dine and ditching.
Yeah. And the thing is, okay, that's like 2 wrongs making a bigger wrong. It's like these guys showed how emotionally shallow and how morally vacant they were.
That's why I said it feels like a Curb episode.
It does. It does. It feels like a Curb episode. Exactly right. Because I thought that Larry
has done that.
Completely morally vacant. And these
I
guys.
mean, that's the thing about Seinfeld. Is Seinfeld's a whole show about fucking psychopaths. So
yes,
of course Curb is too.
And the thing is, they go to Jeff Goldblum, who's playing Jeff Goldblum, being as most Jeff Goldblum there's ever been.
No. Thor is the most.
Thor is the most Jeff.
No.
Thor is maximum Jeff.
I love the Grand. No, the Grandmaster's a whole.
But in Thor, he's actually a character. Here, he might as well just.
No, he's just being Jeff Goldblum.
No, but
he's being Jeff Goldblum if Jeff Goldblum was a writer.
Grandmaster can. The thing is, Jeff Goldblum in this one can't kill people with a stick, and Grandmaster can. So that's a good.
You don't know. You never know. He's apparently quite wealthy.
Okay, good enough.
He's so good in this, of course, because like Ted said, we're always happy to see him, but he was exceptionally
like Christopher Walken.
It's a lot of joy. And that last shot of him him just talking to them as they're leaving, and they don't say a word.
Something I said, why are you leaving? Why? Don't leave.
I'll text you. You don't even have to talk to me.
Exactly.
I'll just text you.
He's yelling at him down the stairwell.
That was more Goldbluming, man. That guy's been Goldbluming since I
love you.
Bonsai,
and I don't know for a fact, but I know it's true that when he first sees them on the street and invites them to dinner, that little kick that he gives before he walks away, that had to be improv, and that was just Jeff being like a fucking.
I know.
It's the most amazing. He says, "Nick," and he kicks his leg up.
Jeff Goldblum has definitely you ever heard of smoking the day player crack pipe? You ever heard that term? That's what he's doing. He got him in Paris for 4 days, and he's gonna make most fun out of it he possibly can. He did. And that's great.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Walken, Chris, because it's very much I was having a conversation with a friend of mine right before I got on here, talking about this movie and talking about Goldblum, and she was like, it's like Christopher Walken, and I'm like, yes, exactly. If no one's unhappy when Walken comes on screen,
right?
It's just like, oh, he's gonna give 100%, but it's 100% weird.
That's another great thing about Severance is it's got Walken and John Turturro, and it's just like if they're on screen, I'm happy. I don't care what's going on.
Precisely.
Scott, to not quickly like move away from what you had said, do you feel like the wife character is the villain of this thing? Then do you think she's unremittingly awful?
No. They've kind of degraded in different ways. She has become bitter, hates him, and wants to live her own life, which is, I guess, understandable.
Yeah,
he is a miserable failure, and the thing is, he gets up. I think I'm going to go back to you guys for the question on this one. He gets up at the dinner party, and he basically pulls his pants down, and takes a gigantic shit in the punch bowl.
Yep.
I mean, he fucks the entire party up, telling about how miserable his life is. Right.
Yep.
And afterwards, he says, "That's genius." Was she being sarcastic, or was there a point being made?
Well,
I think she was being sincere, saying, "Oh, that was genius." You know what I mean?
Before she says genius, I think Goldblum says that was genius.
Yeah, but what the fuck? Yes. How is it genius to fuck up someone's party?
Well, because I think that's a bigger comment. I thought about that too this time, and I think it's a bigger comment on because before he, goes into all of his, personal problems, he's being sort of pumped up, right? He's being put up on a pedestal by Goldblum, and he's obviously, he knows he's in a room of, I mean, you heard those introductions, right? I mean, these are like the creme.
Their awkwardness was
they're out of their depth.
Their awkwardness is kind of delicious, actually. So I felt I could relate to them at that one point in the film.
Okay, so now think about him getting up and saying all that shit,
right?
I think is part of a comment on, it's a reaction to, oh, I'm supposed to be in this place with these fucking people that are definitely out of my league in every way, shape, and form. And then I'm going to be sort of falsely talked up by my friend here. You know what? Because I think going back to what this film is about, and I think maybe what John was talking about a little bit, is the honesty on display here throughout the picture. And then so you've got the climax is just this dumpage of complete truth and honesty, that is the antithesis of what you would expect someone to do in that company, in that crowd at that point.
Exactly, because you would try to rise to their level and say, okay, I'm your peer. I'm gonna
in some way I'm grasping at straws to be on your level, but instead
Instead, like Scott says, he just takes a dump.
Yeah, well, Goldblum likes he's taking the piss out of his fancy friends.
Yeah, I think Goldblum is sincere. Right. I think Goldblum is sincere in saying that was fucking brilliant. His wife, I don't know if she was joking or if she was, but it was kind of a fucking awesome move.
Well, she saves the moment, really.
Yeah, she saves it.
Yes.
And probably the relationship in the same moment.
Someone mentioned the silent walkout, and that's the capper, right?
Yeah.
That's the
like we're done here. It's a mic drop.
Yeah. Well, it was a hell of a mic drop. I'll give you that. But no, the thing is, it just brought back to the realm of real, actual human emotions, not movie emotions. It's like, the guy invited him to a party. He's supposed to be nice to the host. You know what I mean?
This is the guy who basically just got fired for being a racist.
But that doesn't an excuse to shit in the punch bowl. It's no.
But I'm saying he
wasn't racist. He made a insensitive comment. Yeah. You spend too much time on your hair and makeup, and you spend
too much time on your hair and makeup, and
not enough time on
prevent you from rising above where you came from.
Yeah.
That's
the problem.
Yeah.
The problem isn't that you spend too much time on your hair and makeup. It's that you spend too much time on your hair and makeup, and that's why you're still stuck in the economic area that you're in, basically.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't tell if that was a left wing or right wing argument he was making.
Well, I think that's more. I think that's less about racism, even though that's tied in, and more about. Well, anyway, that's a bigger discussion, but more about
Well, regardless of how anyone
economic
feels about it, that's how the college felt about it.
Also,
yes, and
he made it very clear in that he was actually kind of the equivalent of a community college professor.
Right.
You ever met anybody more bitter than a community college professor? Oh my God!
Actually, I've met some very happy community college professors.
My father-in-law was a community college professor, and he was happy as a pig in poop.
What do you teach?
Electrical engineering.
Well, that's vocational.
Fucking John Bigby, who taught film studies at JC, floated around in his Sherlock Holmes cape and hat on the campus like a god.
But
most of the community college teachers I've taught were in the drama departments, and they fucking loved it.
I think you can find examples of both.
But probably they've accepted their place in the world. How's that?
I did have a very angry English teacher who was clearly a failed poet.
I've had plenty of really pissed off math instructors and plenty of pissed off history instructors in community college. Man, they were not happy at all.
Well, some of that I think also has to do with how seriously the class is taking things.
Yeah. Well, no, we're paying $77 a semester. Don't give a fuck.
Right, exactly.
But I do think that bringing it back to kind of like Amor, and I think you wanted to say something about both these movies, Scott. But I think another theme here, or just another unintentional theme, is the chemistry between these people in this movie. Like John was saying, I mean, it's incredible. The performances are so incredible. And I feel like that's also apparent in Amor too. The chemistry, the performances, both these movies have these just fantastic, performances from actors like obviously at the top of their game.
It's the writing and the acting that nails what a long-term relationship is like in two very different ways.
Yeah. The reasons I didn't like it are not that because they did great performances. It was actually pretty well. It was really well done. It was shot in the fly. You could tell it was uncheap, but these guys really brought it. Now it's actually kind of neat because it actually gives me something to hang my criticisms on. It's like, well, because these guys were kind of showing the weak writing in this thing, if you ask me.
If we're a worse movie, it would be harder to criticize.
Yes.
And how about Robert Mitchell? It's like a name. You go, oh, what directors do you like? Robert Mitchell's. Everybody would go,
Notting Hill, right?
Notting Hill.
The Notting Hill guy.
One of the best rom-coms. I mean, literally, like if I was going to name greatest rom-coms of all time, it would be like in the top 3.
Okay, that's the rom-com they named rom-coms after, basically. Yes, I know.
Right. Right. And he made that, and then he made this, which is very different.
He had carte blanche.
Very
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, you can
I'm
do
also
that.
I think
very,
their
very-
relationship is extremely three-dimensional. Actually, Scott, I disagree. I do not think she despises him. I think the nature of their relationship is it's an hour by hour power struggle.
But I also
Mhm.
think that it's pretty
He knows
obvious
the
that
things
she
can say that get a reaction from him and vice versa.
Yeah,
but it's
Oh,
but
no,
it's pretty obvious.
There's push
Seesaw.
pull is interesting in this thing.
Mhm.
That's for
But it's
sure.
a lot of she obviously wears the pants in the family. She's the one that makes the decisions. She's the one that is tougher. She's the one that, you know, she walks all over him. This guy is a pushover.
She's more anger. He's more fear.
No, he's I think, you know, he's got
He's
fire.
a bit of a doormat.
He's the end of his rope. He doesn't have anybody who wants to see him or wants to know him. He's clinging on to her like a life, but like a
And
life,
he says
like
it's
a lifesaver, like a
almost as much.
like a lifesaver.
Yeah.
It's like he's hanging on for dear life to her, and she's like, I want to do something else. And that's the tension of the film, I think, you know, in a lot of ways. Only
Which is why dying and ditching saved their relationship.
let me, you know, but going back to the other thing that they're watching in the hotel room about that dance scene from Band Apart, you know, that was, and I saw it. It's like, oh, this shit's gonna bounce right back at the end. This is a Chekhov's gun of movies.
Chekhov's dance number. Yeah.
And sure fucking enough, it showed up at the end, and
I'm more partial to another thing I liked though is even more so than Jean-Luc Godard's work. I'm a huge fan of Nick Drake's work, so I appreciated his music used in this.
Oh,
movie.
you know, I
There's
don't
a
know
whole
much
lot of Pink Moon in that movie.
I don't know much about that. Did that thing get really helped? Do you think it was actually
I'm a big fan. He's a folk singer who, you know, was one of those that died. He's like the 27 Club.
27.
Oh wow, no shit.
Yeah, he killed himself like when he was like 27. He
When
was
was
a
he
folk
active?
singer. He was from Britain, or he was English.
Was he like from the 70s or 80s or
Yeah,
70s.
60s,
the
60s,
60s?
70s.
No
Late
fooling.
60s.
Oh, I
don't
thought
know
it was
much about this
early
stuff.
70s. He put that Pink Moon record out. Was it early 60s, late 60s?
It might be late 60s, early 70s.
All right.
But he's one of those guys that got famous, you know, decades after he was dead.
Yeah.
Like
Wow,
they
I don't know,
rediscovered
I
his
think
work, and
If I think I knew much more about him, I probably actually had a little more pull, that part. You know what I mean?
his music's so beautiful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I admit I was a little fooled by the trailer, which I used for the trailer, which was like they cut that thing. Remember that guy who recut the Shining video to be a
Yeah, to
rom-com?
make a comedy.
Uh,
It
heartwarming.
was like that. It was like Shine. It was like, oh, this looks so hilarious and fun. I can't wait to watch it with Eileen. So I watched it myself and like, oh, this film, I want to strangle everybody. And then this film was so stupid.
Wait,
But-
so you didn't watch it with Eileen?
No, it was actually she. Well, we had a big day yesterday because
Yeah.
we played out and we watched 2 episodes of the Mary Tyler Moore Show and she fell asleep and so she went to bed.
John, did you watch this with Sheila?
Mhm.
You liked it?
Both films this week.
Okay.
We almost always watch them together. All the picks.
No, she did this one. Either way, it's like I'm gonna give you thumbs at this point.
I liked it a lot.
Uh,
Sideways to down.
yeah, sideways to down.